And first of all, I'm just going to make Ash and Leah hosts. Yeah, one check-in question I have for everyone. Often when we start our Centrifuge community calls, we have a check-in question, which is just a way for us to not just dive really quickly into all the facts and all the data, but to ask, get to know a bit more about ourselves. This one's pretty general, pretty broad. The check-in question, and you can be as serious or as silly as you like, is what is happening in the larger DeFi or financial ecosystem or world that we should know about? I'm going to add or world that we should know about in this call. We should know about. So think about your answer and just write it in the chat. It could be, I don't know, Coinbase, I'm not investing, I'm investing in the IPO, something, Greensill just did something extremely bad again. Maker integration, anything. Could be questioning money. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's some good news to bring in. Berlin hard fork. Can you enlighten us to what that is, JP?
Yeah, so there's some new proposals to the Ethereum network that were integrated today, I believe, at some time. And so I guess the network now has these proposals integrated. So it's sort of like this new chain, and I guess people can stay on the old chain, but I think realistically, it's not going to really be used. And so the chain as we know it now has these new proposals. And I think they just call it the Berlin hard fork because they use like city names for the different forks based on where the Ethereum conferences used to be. So the next one I think is London hard fork in July.
Cool, that's really fascinating. Everyone joining, we're just checking in with this question, what's happening in the larger DeFi or financial ecosystem and or world that we should know about? And JP was just giving us some details on the Berlin hard fork. And then Sam, do you want to just quickly comment on your answer, Sam? It's quite, where are you seeing this larger mass awareness of crypto as a whole?
Just in the general media, it's becoming more saturated with it, where a few months ago you wouldn't really notice anything. Now it's on the news, like in places you wouldn't notice it before. It's starting to pop up, which is exciting, I find.
Yeah, super exciting. And Pats, it's a big number there. Do you want to comment on that, or 57 billion? Anyway, okay, cool. So
more, it's just TVL of DeFi.
57 billion TVL of DeFi.
I think it's more already. It doesn't matter. It's, I think, most likely, getting more every second. It's north of 58, I guess, right now.
Okay, so by the end of the call, let's do some prediction markets. No. Okay, thanks everyone for playing the checking game. Let's move to our first update for the call from Leah, who's going to talk about the Maker integration.
Yeah, I have some slides, but I feel like we're this small group, so maybe I'll just start up like that, and then we can I can still like show a graphic or whatnot. But it would be cool to have it be a conversation. So yeah, this week was a big week for us because we finally launched, or like our longest partnership in the making went live this week, and we have been talking about Maker, I think, for a really long time now. We started working with them almost 2 years ago. And for those who are just like a short recap of how Maker works is, so Maker now is the issuer of stablecoin called DAI. And the way it works, you lock up collateral, and first start out with like locking up ETH into a vault, and then against this collateral, new DAI is minted. And then when you pay back your die, your collateral is released. So we started like thinking about how can we actually make that use, how can we work with this for our asset originators. There's like a stable coin, there's companies that need financing, so perfect match. And when we first talked, there was like single collateral DAI, was only ETH that was accepted as collateral. But then with the launch of multi-collateral DAI, where Maker broadened their scope of accepting new collateral types, we started working with them. Okay, how can we actually lock up tokenized real world assets into a Maker vault and mint new DAI against that? And maybe now actually it makes sense if I share the quick link overview here. And this is actually what went live this week. So we work with different asset originators that finance their loans using through like, oh, somebody was saying I'm cutting out. Is my connection okay? Okay. And so New Silver is a company that is also live on our Tinley pools that finances real estate fix and flip loans. And New Silver is finally the first one to like successfully move through this collateral onboarding process with Maker, and they get a first sign up, or like they were granted a first debt ceiling of 5 million DAI. And why this is great for New Silver is they can like now not only get funding through all our individual investors that come to on our platform, but also now truly can make use of DeFi and like make use of the interoperability of the open network that we're all building towards. So they can now additionally, in addition to our investors, they can now also use up to 5 million of from Maker. And why, maybe I also spend like a few words on why Maker is actually interested in working with us. So they work with several, like the currencies that are currently used on Maker are other cryptocurrencies with are volatile in nature. And maybe you remember before, like the DeFi summer, the DeFi boom happened last year. There was also an event in March, which we all refer to Black Thursday, where ETH actually plummeted, and a lot of positions on Maker, or like a lot of vaults on Maker, actually got liquidated because suddenly the DAI, or like the stablecoin was not enough collateralized anymore. So what Maker needs, or like what makes Maker actually stronger, is stable collateral, which what we're basically introducing. So tokenized real world assets are a lot less volatile in nature, bring increased stability to the Maker protocol, and also has the potential, like what we're bringing on here is these are real businesses. They bring substantial volume. So we're first working with New Silver, but we have a wide range of asset originators that actually are coming onto our platform. And with that, we're finally making it truly work to bridge the real world to DeFi. And with that, we're like really bringing a multi-trillion-dollar market to DeFi. And with that, also an unprecedented volume actually to the Maker system. And I mean, for us, it's we're making composability at its best. We're making it work, and for us, this also means, of course, like growing our network and like building out the strength in our network. Let's see here some chats. Okay, I can maybe answer the questions later on. Just like here's a very short overview, like how New Silver and all the asset originators that we have on the pipeline would be using Maker. And I think most of you are familiar with like how this flow works, or if you're familiar with Centrifuge, you have maybe seen that chart before. So what companies do, so they tokenize their assets and deposit them into a tin pool. And on top of that, we have the two tranche structure. So we have the tin and the drop tokens that represent the share in the underlying collateral. And those drop tokens, so like the senior token of that pool, are now it's now possible to use them in a Maker vault. So what would happen is like the drop token would be locked in a Maker vault, and new DAI would be minted, which then the asset originator can use to finance the loan. And whenever the loan is paid back and DAI is paid back into the vault, the collateral is already is released again. And why this is so exciting? So we've had so Maker has this governance process set in place. We've worked with the different domain teams to figure out like what's the best way to like bring the regulated world, or like the real world, into a trustless system. This was a lot of work, or like it introduced a few new challenges that like crypto native assets don't have. And together with those different domain teams that we work with at Maker, we're finally launching our first asset originator into the Maker universe. This is very high level, and this is only a very quick run through, but I want to point out to the fact that we're hosting this AMA session next week, Thursday, where we will actually be joined by some of the main contact points for us at Maker. So there will be Sep, Phil, and Will from the Maker risk team, and yeah, we'll share a little bit about like how this process worked. I somehow lost the chat in oops.
It's fine. There's a question from John, which says, do the collateral requirements on Maker go down for the loans backed by real world assets versus ETH?
So how they're different, or
yeah, John, do you want to comment there?
Yeah, just I think, isn't the requirements like 150%, and does that go down with, because the collateral should be better or less volatile? So I was just wondering, does that does that change with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so there is a different collateralization ratio. I think with ETH it's around 150% over collateralization, and here we look at a much tighter, or like smaller over collateralization, because we have it's more secure for Maker in that sense that for one, they don't have to, like, the collateralization ratio doesn't need to be as tight, because overall the volatility of that asset is not as tight. And then, for example, in the case of New Silver, they have this extra cushion with the tin and the drop structure. So they have a 15% tin buffer, and then on top of that, they also, regardless of tin lake and the senior and the junior tranche, they also have advance rates. So they don't pay out the full, or they don't finance the full collateral value. They finance, their loan to value rate is usually like around 78 to 85%. So there's like several layers of risk cushion that allows us to go way smaller in the over collateralization right here.
Yeah, great.
Cool. Other questions? Any other questions? We'll take one more before we keep moving, if anyone has one. Okay, so we'll be announcing more details on the big AMA next week, and we'll put up a forum post with a lot more resources. So if you do want to watch some videos and study up, that will be available very soon. Thanks a lot, Leah. Super good presentation. So now we're going to move to Discord missions, and I'll pass to Ash.
Hey guys, I'll just share my screen here. Nice. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you to everybody that's been participating in the missions. I think it's really awesome that we're seeing people more closely involved with Centrifuge and helping spread the word. I wanted to talk a bit about what the specific missions are for those of you who haven't taken part yet, and why we're doing each mission. So the first mission is inviting a friend. If you've been part of the community for a while, where you probably have a decent understanding of what Tin Lake is. So we think if you're inviting your own friends, you are pretty much a source for really easing the learning curve for new people entering Centrifuge and really knowing what Tin Lake is and what we have to offer. In terms of tweeting and tagging, that's really just to help spread the word. And we really want to convey the relevance of what Centrifuge is in DeFi. And that's really what that mission is for. In terms of creating a meme, we thought this was actually really important because of what Centrifuge is, and it is a bit confusing to some people at first. The way that memes sometimes work is that sometimes it can convey things in a really easy to understand, concise method. And we did see some examples of that in some memes we got on. So I think really the question you got asked when you're making a meme is like, if you're scrolling through Twitter and you briefly just look at the meme for a second, are you able to understand what Centrifuge is based on that meme? And I think we have gotten some really good entries, which I'll share with you guys later. And in terms of the last two missions, nominating a validator and voting on governance, that's really I know for me personally, I never interacted with the Polkadot ecosystem before Centrifuge. And so with nominating a validator and voting, I really got to experience the Centrifuge portal. I got to experience the speed of Polkadot transactions, and really just how to use a portal itself. And I think that's pretty cool. And if you guys got a good understanding of that, it will only help us grow. But I'll share some of our memes here. So this is definitely what we're looking for, I believe. You know, some of them are funny here, but really, I think they convey what Centrifuge brings to the table, and I think that's what we really need. I think if you're trying to explain what Centrifuge is to someone, you could send them a couple of these memes, and they'd have a decent understanding of what we're about. So yeah, we're probably gonna have a huge influx of people coming in during the time of our sale. And so if you haven't done missions yet, I think this is your opportunity to really help organically grow Centrifuge and make your mark as an early supporter while we're still in our relatively early stages. And we're probably going to be capping our, if our cap for our entries isn't hit, we're probably going to be issuing a date as a deadline for when we want our last entries in by. But we'll obviously announce that beforehand. But yeah, so if you haven't done the missions yet, this is your chance to represent Centrifuge, win some prizes, and immortalize yourself as a Centrifugian. So yeah, if you haven't yet, please have a go at the missions.
Awesome. Any quick questions for Ash? And then we've got two more updates on the missions. So Barris is having big trouble with Twitter. Do you have any solutions for people that have been suspended on Twitter?
We had a couple people
Yes.
who entered with just brand new accounts, and that's also okay, just as long as we know that that's the situation. So if you just DM us, let us know that you're creating an account for that, that's fine.
And there's another question in the chat. Feel free to just speak out your questions, everyone. You don't need to write them in the chat. We're more than happy to just have people take mics off. But do you see that one?
I can grab the link for the post, the announcement post, and that outlines what the rewards are. And that's going to be NFTs as well as merchandise, Centrifuge swag. Let me see if I can grab the post.
And how are winners decided, Ash? Do you want to just quickly comment?
Yeah, just gotta, once you complete all 5 of the missions, we'll be issuing you an NFT, and that'll pretty much lock in your chance to get some swag from us.
Cassidy, do you want to talk about the vote?
We have, as our last mission, participating in that governance process. And I think some people seemed a little bit confused on Discord, but that vote isn't even live yet. So I think if you're not familiar with that process, part of this mission is to encourage you to get familiar with it. So I've linked a lot of documentation that we have in Discord so that you can learn a little bit more about how it works. And be able to participate. And I think for me, this is exciting to get everyone used to this process now before the community grows, and then these governance proposals become a lot more important in the long term. So that proposal to extend the validator set is up. You can second that proposal right now. It's not going to go live actually for another week. So a little over 7 days from now, that vote will actually go live, and then you'll have another 7 days after that to actually vote on that proposal. There will be an enactment period that's just a delay built in before that vote actually gets executed. But if this vote does go through, then by probably beginning of May, we'll have a validator set of 40 instead of the 32 that it is now.
Cool. Any questions on that? Otherwise, we'll pass to Dylan, who has got a big announcement on the missions.
Big announcement. I mean, it's an announcement. So yeah, we also have a bonus mission. We're next week putting up a new website and new documentation to make things easier to understand. Also, thanks Christian and Basti for having a look and helping out, seeing if we're helping convey the message better. Yeah, so in the new documentation, it's going to be more collaborative. So we have a section for use cases, and we have a bonus mission where you can submit a PR anywhere on the documentation, but particularly for the use case section, you can submit a use case, and we have four sections really that we're looking for use cases in. So like using Centrifuge through the lens of an asset originator, which markets around the world could benefit the most from financing their assets through Centrifuge. And now the second one would be DeFi protocol composability. So like, we're doing this with Maker. It would be interesting to see also what other DeFi projects we can get composable with, and how that could look. Looking at use cases for the Centrifuge chain, the home for real world assets. Tin Lake is a great use case for the Centrifuge chain, but it could also do a lot of other things. So it'd be cool to hear other use cases there. And finally, some more use cases around Polkadot. So yeah, what other projects in the Polkadot ecosystem should Centrifuge be looking to integrate with? So yeah, you can just submit a PR on our documentation, which I hope is up next week. And then we can start accepting submissions there.
Thanks, Dylan. Any questions? Okay, there'll be more details following, so let's move on. Ash, did you want to shout out anyone in particular? We heard Dylan giving some gratitude to two of our members who aren't here for really stepping into one of our focus groups and giving a lot of feedback, and it's really helpful. So Ash, do you want to shout out anyone?
Yeah, I think they're in the chat right now. But Pats and Sam, I'd definitely love to shout you guys out because you guys done all the missions and have been helping out in the chats a lot and have been actually making some new memes, so putting some extra work in. So I think that's really awesome. Thank you guys for that.
Cool. Anyone else want to shout anyone out? This is our little gratitude segment where you can just feel free to say thanks to people for doing stuff. But yeah, we'll keep going. Just know that we often do these cute little things. Okay, so I wanted to do this other quick segment before we move into breakout rooms. And to those couple of people that have just joined, yeah, we're halfway through and we're about to jump into small groups to talk, to just have some chats. Before we do that, I just want to pull everyone's attention to, we've talked about Discord. Many of you are very active in Telegram, but there's also the forum, which is really the place where we want to have long form discussions, like really get into details, start having some of the really important conversations around governance and risk, and asking questions around asset originators and pools. So there's a couple of, I'll share my screen. I'll just put you at the top. There's a couple of forum posts that I think are really, really good just to pay attention to. So this one that just started 2 weeks ago from Lucas, request for comments on the CFG liquidity rewards parameter update. So this is basically our off-chain kind of decision-making process around what happens to CFG rewards. And there's always, we're doing polls right now, and there's always a lot of really good info in here. And we're starting to get some really good people coming in with ideas, having discussions. The Wakandan is suggesting higher stakes, larger stakes if you lock in longer. And yeah, I think it's just a good place to come in to get involved in some of these debates and discussions. And you can see Lucas there, who's kind of in charge of some of these, making these votes a reality, taking people's ideas and putting them into reality. So that's one example. There'll be more of these types of posts coming up soon. And then another one is this really cool post by the Dr. J, Jason Jones from our team, how to size up a 10-lake pool, 10-lake pools for investment, where he's actually just giving some basic things, to some breakdown of what to think about when you do want to start thinking about investing in your 10-lake at different pools. So he goes through, talks about pool size, liquidity, what to think about, protection, execution. So I won't spend too much time scrolling through quickly, but this is a really good post to look at and to share around if you do have friends joining who just want some more idea around what to look for when they're about to make their first investment. And that is that section. Okay, so I'm gonna put everyone into breakout rooms now, and we did this a few weeks ago, and it was very casual. It's just a way for us to, in the Centrifuge team, to meet more of you and to talk about the big focus for tonight's call, which is What's your background? What interests you in DeFi and in Centrifuge in particular? And are there particular things or areas that you'd like to contribute to the ecosystem? So obviously we've got these programs like Discord missions. Dylan just announced a really cool bonus mission around case studies. We've got people like Sam and Pats helping out a lot in the chat, answering questions, but there's probably lots more things. I mean, if you think of a really healthy ecosystem and where it could grow to, there's a lot more things that we're not doing and we don't have time. And this is really an ecosystem where we want people to self-direct and do what they think is needed and relevant for the protocol. So we'll go into, thank you, Helena. You've put those questions into the chat. I'll start the rooms now, and then we will come back here with a few minutes at the end to just have a discussion. Cool. Enjoy. Opening all rooms. Assign to room 1. Assign to room 1. Hi, Mike. We're just going into rooms. I'll put you in with Cassidy. Pats, you haven't accepted the invitation. Hello, Cryptotech and FPS. Oh.
If you want to, go ahead.
No, we just had some questions. It was not strict to the questions. It was in the call, but we had some informative session actually about the centrifuge and the position within the DeFi and regarding the DeFi projects which are moving the money around instead of not putting any vetted value by production or service provisions. That kind of discussions we had. It's nice to get the answers.
Cool. So, do you want to add anything, Edward? We're looking for like the key takeaways. So, what would be useful for people that weren't in your breakout room to know, like in a sentence?
Edward's in a cubicle, but maybe you could type into the chat if you want.
Cool. Also, yeah, I was in a room with Lee in here for a while. She also couldn't turn her mic on, but I actually don't know if it's anyway. We won't.
So Edward added to the chat here. Centrifuge is on its way to onboarding more companies and industries. Yeah, and we're definitely excited about the growth that we're going to have in the coming months.
Cool.
Also, I think that we would need your help as our community or to build that ecosystem. So when you ever think of someone who is maybe interested in originator assets, make them aware of what we are doing.
Yeah, for sure. But the only big point is, in my opinion, the risk calculation. If you get a company, he trusts you, and something happens. And that part is very eager for me, losing the trust when something goes wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why, even if it is all blockchain, with real world assets, you have connection to the real world, which is hard to decentralize. And that's why, of course, we have a proven legal framework, so within a special purpose vehicle, being bankruptcy remote, managing the pool with real legal contracts. I think Mesut, you invested as well, so you signed an agreement. So there is more than the token. Of course, looking forward to a time where that is not required anymore, but there's still also a legal framework.
No, indeed.
Someone from Dylan's room. Do you want to suggest something?
We were just talking. Yeah, go ahead, Leah.
I think for us it was funny because we had Anita in our group, and it was her first day today, or it is her first day today at Centrifuge, so it was kind of cool to have a casual way to just like chat and meet. So that was, we got maybe a bit sidetracked on that, but maybe Dylan, you can also. I'm not sure what you wanted to say.
We were just yeah, mostly this and just like talking about Maker, because yeah, it's been a long time coming. So pumped for the AMA next week.
Ash and Martin, you had Barris. What were your key takeaways?
I think it was more casual discussion or not bearish. So I think nothing in particular, just more, question, just nothing, how to use it and what's to come. So nothing, no real takeaways, but I think a nice casual discussion to get together and learn more about, to get to know our ecosystem. But I think also for Barish, good chance to catch up with the team and learn more about us.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Okay, so the last group, Helena and Devin, did you have takeaways or also a nice casual chats?
We had both actually. We had some nice casual chats. I had Peter and Sam in the room, and it was really good actually. We were talking about their background, what kind of brought them into crypto. Sam got in 2017 and discovered us through Polkadot, which is quite interesting. But yeah, both of them mentioned that the thing about Centrifuge is it's not all about hype. We're working model, it's a real use case. Bridging real world came up a lot to DeFi. And yeah, anything to add, guys?
Nope. Nah, I'm all good.
Yeah, Alan, as usual, I think you explained it perfectly. I agree with everything.
Great. And more memes from Sam as well, so be prepared.
Yeah, anyone want to say anything else? We'll wrap up and probably early tonight, I think. Everyone seems to be on a lot of video calls these days, so we can have a few minutes back. If there's any, unless there's any key closing comments from anyone. Okay, cool. So don't forget the AMA is also happening next Thursday, and yeah, see you in the channels. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Thanks, Kate.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.